You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of games and comics, but of classes. A journey into a wondrous land where boundaries are that of nerdism. The signpost up ahead. Your next stop. Nerd is the new sexy.
Nerd is the new sexy.
Hello everyone, welcome to once again Nerd is the New Sexy. I am Wyldfyre1, with me is...
Always me, Sunrie. And we got a special guest today.
A very special guest, actually. Say hello there, Sofisto.
Hello everyone out in Nerd is the new sexy land.
We've heard us. You heard us talk about him. This is Wild's father, Sofisto. We've heard us mention before in like the Halloween episodes and things like that. And he's here today to talk about the Twilight Zone. Gotta love the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, amazing show. Popular to this day. You know, something I grew up on. Something they tried to emulate. You know, much later on, and it just failed. We're not even sure why.
I mean, I have my theories, but we'll talk about that.
Yes, we'll get to that.
At that point.
But as I was gonna say, this is episode number 10. This is the boss episode. Welcome to the big boss episode. That's why we have our very special guest here. Well, I guess we'll start out with Sofisto. What is your basic influence from the Twilight Zone?
Basic influence?
Yeah. How did the show
though?
influence you? Like what did you get from the show? You know, when you were younger and whatnot?
It basically makes you think that all things are possible. You know, if you watch any of those episodes, especially for the first time, you never know what's coming around the bend. Yeah, Sunrie said something about, you know, or you said something about they tried to emulate it. Well, they did have a fairly decent movie that they made.
Yeah.
You know, in the early '80s.
Oh, that's right, with Dan
Aykroyd
and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Want to see
Kinda
something
followed
that's
up
really
some
scary?
Yeah, that was a good opening. I can't. We'll never forget that opening because I remember. I want to say they were in a truck of some sort, right? And I remember the Midnight Special was playing, I believe.
Yeah.
On the radio.
Dan Aykroyd looks over and he goes, "Hey, okay, you want to see something really scary? All right, you ready?
Which is great because, you know, I think wasn't that kind of after the Ghostbuster movies?
It may have been. I think it was before that.
Oh, okay.
I think it might have just been just a little before it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it was after, but I could be wrong.
And I could be wrong too. I'm not sure. It was definitely it was a pretty good one. They basically almost every one of those cuts from that movie were
Actual
from the
episodes.
original.
Yeah.
Yes, from the original series.
Which is amazing. So, and I'm glad you mentioned the movie because I almost completely forgot about the movie. I was scared. You know, I didn't want to not mention it. I'm glad you mentioned that. What about you, Sunrie? What is your takeoff of what do you get from you know growing up and watching the old Twilight Zone movies and episodes and stuff like that?
For me, it was mostly the interest, just the oddity of it all, and the way that it all played out at the end, how everything kind of came together for the conclusion of the story, the pacing of the storytelling itself. I absolutely loved it, and just like Sofisto was saying, you never really knew. You might have it figured out, and then all of a sudden there's a nice little twist, and you know the show even started with, hey, guess what? We're gonna fuck with you.
Yeah.
So you knew something was gonna be up. It was just that, okay, what is gonna be that reveal?
Yeah, that was actually pretty amazing. Myself, I will have to say that it was almost the first version of the Shyamalan movies. M. Night Shyamalan. No, I say that the good version.
Ding dong.
Yeah, the good version of back before he started sucking.
I see dead people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Back when he was that good.
When he was that good, back when he had Haley Joel Osment to lean on and stuff. Yeah. Well, anyway, I want to say that it was like basically, I think a lot of people who write movies with twists nowadays are basically, I want to say ripping off, but get a lot of their musing from that series. And
they did it right.
Yeah, they did it right.
Really
They did it right, and they did it great. And the reason and I'm going to quote you on this one, a reason why the show is so popular is because it plays off our basic fears and instincts.
Yeah, and that's what kind of makes the show timeless. You know, you look at a lot of the other shows and stuff like that come out now. They date themselves really easily, either with the way the characters talk or, you know, the references they make.
References is the big issue nowadays. Yeah.
You know, in Twilight Zone, there are plenty of times where the guy will ask, you know, how much does it cost, you know, for the tank of gas, and the guy's like, oh, $1.25, you know, for the tank, and he's like, oh, wow, that's outrageous for the tank, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's funny, but you look at it, you know, it's stuff that plays on, you know, basic human emotions and fear, you know, the fear of isolation, the fear of the unknown. The fear of being, you know, put to the side and being, you know, the fear of being analyzed.
Of being probed.
Yeah.
The
fear of being the last man on earth who loves to read books.
Yes.
And his glasses.
I had time now.
That is such, and that is probably, I would say that's probably, besides the whole nee, that is probably one of the most iconic ones.
Oh, yeah.
That they ever made, because everybody will reference that one.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
There
was time now.
There was time now.
It's not fair.
Yeah, there was the movie shows, you know, it was on Family Guy. There's a lot of different.
Futurama has parodied it several times.
Yes, you know, and it just goes to show, you know, here's like a good one that was kind of timeless too, was the one that William Shatner was with the gremlin on the wing.
That's the one. Yeah, they actually copied that one in the movie.
Yes, they did. One of the I'm gonna skip to the movie real quick, and one of the scenes. Tell me if this is right. One of the iconic scenes in that movie was the one where of course the one where I think it was a young Seth Green.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the one with Anthony who would send people to the cornfield.
No.
They did a follow up because they followed up on that one.
I might be thinking about one of the other later movies too, because I think it was two different movies at the time.
I think I
know there's one for sure.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, there was one Twilight Zone movie, I think. And that was it.
I can't necessarily remember, but
there've been so many other movies though.
Yes. The one iconic one of course the one I was talking about before that was the railroad one. You guys know what I'm talking about? With the old man and the railroad. It might be a different one.
The old man and the railroad.
Yeah, with a young Seth Green in it. He was like the kid, and his grandpa like was talking about the railroad. I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that one being in the movie.
Maybe I'm talking about like The Outer Limits, because it's hard.
The Outer Limits is another one that's kind of along those lines.
Well, what about what I was getting to was actually this. The one with a kid that can basically make everything he thought came to life.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I thought that was the one with and he kept sending people to the cornfield if they weren't nice people.
You might be right.
I think that's it, where the school teacher meets him in the restaurant.
Yes.
He's playing a game, and he makes it look like she ran into him, and so she'll take him home and meet his family.
Yes, that's it. And this is what I remember from the movie. And I know Sofisto could probably back me on this. I remember the Tasmanian Devil coming out of the television.
Yes.
I remember being a kid and that scaring the living shit out of me. That thing was horrible. Horrifying. It was horrible. Scary. And, you know, he's like sitting there, and I didn't even know. As a kid, I didn't even make the reference that it was a Tasmanian Devil. I just thought it was Satan himself coming out of the television. It was horrible.
You remember where we saw that for the first time?
Where did we see that? I want to say like one of the drive-ins, right? Or
the drive-in theater.
But that's the that was probably one of the most iconic. I keep thinking about when I think about that movie. That's the scene I think about, and I remember a young me going, "What the hell?
Yeah,
what's this? Oh no, am I gonna pee my pants now?" Oh,
yeah. So, you know the movie did its job. But anyway, let's talk about our favorite episode.
For me, I think for me the my favorite one is a toss up either between the Obsolete Man or I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was the one where Kick the Can. That was the name of it. The one where the old guys, he keeps talking, you know, the reason kids are so young and they're happy is because they play and we forgot to play, and he keeps trying to convince all of his friends to go out there and they start playing Kick the Can.
That's
and then
a
all
good
of a sudden
episode.
Yeah, all the old people except for the one guy who was like fighting against it is like kids again. again, they all go running off in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ones they copied in the movie too.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I love about the obsolete man is, again, Twilight Zone is so timeless. You can take pretty much any of the episodes out, change the dollar amounts, change the clothing, and it applies today.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, that the one I'm talking about, the obsolete man, is, and I know we say we don't get political and stuff like that, but basically
this is the subject, so it can be
Yeah.
political. It's political on the show, so.
Yeah. The obsolete man is basically liberal Marxist paradise.
Yeah.
The government controls everything. It's all based off of Marxism. There's no more books. There's no more entertainment. It's only what's given to you by the government. They decide what it is. It's completely totalitarian. And the state just issues out death for anything that is obsolete. And they decide that this guy's a librarian, and so they don't need a librarian anymore. He's obsolete, and he's set up to be killed because he's not producing as much as he's consuming in this society.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about it is the guy says, okay, I'll tell you what, I will get to choose my own means of execution, and I want it televised. Well, since religion and the Bible and everything else like that has also been outlawed, he says, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read my Bible and wait my execution. Oh, by the way, the door's locked. You can't get out now either. So the guy who I think is like just the chancellor, basically the spokesman for the thing, he's trapped in there, and he eventually breaks and basically tells him, for the mercy of God, please let me out. And he goes, well, mercy of God, I will let you out. And so then the chancellor ends up being brought up as an obsolete man because now he's calling out for mercy of a God that they say don't exist and he's not allowed to believe in, so they end up attacking him too. And it really is one of those warning things. Yes, it may seem a little bit overboard, but this is what some people want to drive to. And it's really very close to Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, but I love it just because of the whole, because I'm pretty conservative and stuff like that. So it's kind of one of those, haha, yes, this is one of my biggest fears.
You know what? One of the things I liked about the show, and I'll ask you, Sofisto, what your favorite episode is after this. One of the best things about the show is that it was just like in a way, it was like Star Trek. It was actually showing you stuff that you probably shouldn't have seen at the time.
Yeah.
And
you might not think about.
But it was doing it in a witty kind of like backhanded way to where like this is the politics that are going on. We really don't talk about this, God bless America, blah blah blah. But at the same time, it's like, look at what could happen, Oh
yeah.
So that's cool. Anyway, that's one of the things I do like about the show. There was really witty writing. So Sofisto, what was your favorite episode?
I think it's an episode called After Hours, and it's about this old. She wasn't old at the time, but I think she died several years ago. Anne Francis.
Yes, the After Hours.
Right, a beautiful blonde lady who goes back to this department store, and there's some strange happening. She doesn't quite understand what's going on, and she tries to leave. She can't get out, and so finally at the end of the show, and she doesn't know why. Everything seems strange to her there, but at the end of the show, one of the mannequins comes alive and basically says, "No, it's your turn to stay. Somebody else gets to go out." And then she realizes that she was a mannequin, and she at the store, and somebody else gets to go out and spend, I think it's like a month or 2 months or 6 months or something like that out. But it's interesting.
That's an actually, and I think that it plays on your fears of being stuck somewhere,
Yeah, you're stuck. You're alone. There's no explanation. You're confused. You're in a dark, confined area.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So my favorite one is probably a good basis on my fear of flying. And I can't remember.
And I love flying.
I can't remember the name of it. It's the Gremlins one, the one where
William
Shatner, he's on the plane and he keeps telling him, "There's something on the wing,"
and no one will believe him.
There's something on the wing. Look, there's something on the wing.
It's out there.
It's out.
Look.
Gone. Yeah.
Gone.
So, and of course it's Shatner, especially at his heyday. When he's
he was very young then.
He's real young. He's got smooth skin.
Yes.
He's got that
V-shaped
body. He's all of his hair. He's built pretty like a pretty big boy. Yeah.
He's He is Shatner as you see him as Kirk.
I think that one's called Nightmare or Terror at
The Terror.
20,000 feet.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
it.
Yes. It's Nightmare at 20,000 feet.
Yes.
It's a classic, and they did that one in the movie too, I believe.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
So it was a very beautiful one, and I'm torn between that one and I can't remember the other one. I had another one in mind when you were telling the one that you liked, Sunrie. But that's definitely my favorite. You know, the and of course listen to Shatner overact. You know, and I'm probably gonna get a few like cat's heads in my mail for saying that Shatner doesn't overact. Yeah, Shatner does overact. He acts all the time. So
anybody who can make a spoken word rap album
or
sing
Rocket Man. He's a rocket man.
Well, he's been the captain of a starship in the future, and he's been T.J. Hooker, a cop.
Yeah, that's right. He was T.J. Hooker.
Yeah.
That man has ridden a lot of hoods.
He was in charge. I think he was a lawyer in charge of a bunch of lawyers and another.
Yes, Boston Blue or something like that.
Yeah, Boston Legal.
Well, Shatner's been in a lot of stuff, and he's done a lot of good stuff, and you can see like his acting got better throughout the years. And I'm gonna go. Of course, we're a little sidetracked again. The Star Trek movies, he got a little better, but anyway, that's an episode all its own. The Star Trek movies.
Right.
Anyway, there's a lot of beautiful episodes. You know, we can go on and on about all the episodes, but that's my favorite one is the Gremlin on the Wing. You know, the Nightmare at 25,000 feet or something like that.
Nightmare at 20,000 feet or something like that.
Yeah, Nightmare at 20,000 feet. That's what.
You want to talk about references? There's a lot of shows that reference that as well. You know, I hate to be generic and be like that's my favorite because it's almost everyone remembers. But that's the one that actually stood out to me the most, and it actually played on my fear of heights.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll tell you what one I hate the most, and not because I think it's a bad episode. This cemented for me the uncanny valley and my hate for lifelike looking dolls. And the living doll.
Oh.
The Talking Tina, or the Talkie Tina, I think is what it was called. I hate that episode so much. To this day, I can't watch it. It freaks me out so much. My name's Talking Tina, and I don't like you very much.
That was creepy.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
That was a creepy episode.
Yeah.
I don't like you very much. Yeah.
Oh, you better be nice to me.
You know,
or when he's sawing her in half and like and she's just laughing at him. It's like, oh, stop, please stop.
But that's kind of a normal fear to play off of is inanimate objects that look like they're watching you.
Yeah, and you're powerless to do anything about
it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So then and of course it gets even worse once the inanimate objects are talking to you and like acknowledging you and like, hey, I hate you or I don't like you very much. Yeah, you're going in the fire, Talking Tina. Welcome to hell.
Yeah, and then it just keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back.
So there's just there's been a lot of like I want to say they remade it in the 90s, the show.
I want to say it was the late 90s, early 2000s. I believe it's Forrest.
You mean the movie?
No, the TV show.
It
was very short-lived. Yeah, what happened was the Outer Limits came back, and I want to say it was the second or third season of the brand new Outer Limits.
And it was doing okay.
It was, and Outer Limits was doing pretty dang good, and so they brought in the new Twilight Zone. And I want to say it was Forrest Whitaker was the new guy doing it in Rod Sterling's place.
Yeah.
I think it only ran for one season. I didn't enjoy it as much as the original. And not because, this isn't Twilight, this isn't the same as the old Twilight Zone. It's all in color, boo. Mm-hmm. I think it was missing those core elements that the Twilight Zone had, where it was like that, where it played off the basic human fears and everything like that, and instead was just a twist ending.
Yeah, there was a lot of sexual references in the 90s one, and I think that's... Yeah. There was a little bit of like hidden sexual agenda in the older ones, but because they couldn't just put like look titties like like they can do in the 90s.
Well, and the one that I remember the most, and I forget what the name of it was. I think it was like a tree for you or something like that. And this family moves to this community, and they see someone across the street planting this tree, and the parents are all sad, and they're like, oh well, your daughter would have loved it and everything like that. And you find out that there are very strict rules for the children. So it was basically a place for parents to come who had bad kids. And if they did bad enough, they would kill the kid and use them as fertilizer in the tree to remind everybody else to and it's like, okay, that's interesting, but that's just a cruel thing. That's not like the Twilight Zone where things are happening all weird and then it stops and you find out that one guy's from Venus and one guy's from Mars.
Yeah,
you know,
or there's a mannequin.
Yeah, or they're a mannequin.
There was no twist ending. It was just...
or like the one from like The Hitchhiker where that lady's driving and that she keeps seeing this guy beckoning to her.
Yeah,
and she's almost dying and it's death. Death is literally following her.
Yep.
That is a terrifying thought and terrifying reminder. Death is always there, one step with you.
Yep.
And at any moment, it's your time.
Well, that's what I think was missing from the newer shows was that the twist ending wasn't there. You know, you're gonna get a group of writers that work together and they do amazing, but then you're gonna get, if you're gonna try and remake it, you gotta kind of get the same like-minded people together to write the same kind of scripting. And what they did is they changed it. They didn't go with that whole, you know, this is the norm, and guess what? This is at the end, and this is the shocker. This is your point. This is the point where it's just gonna freak you right the hell out. Yeah. And that was the issue. They were just like, oh, this is the problem. Bam! It's in your face. The kids are turning into fertilizer because they're bad and we hate them.
It's just like, that's just cruel. That's not a nice twist. That's not a cool, human fear to play on.
But if you think about it, in the 90s, especially around that time, there was a lot of, that Friday the 13th series. They had all those series that were kind of like, they were trying to be X-Filesy. And but you watch that and that's what it is. They're trying to be X-Filesy. They're trying to reboot these shows, but kind of go off like what they know is going on. And that was my problem. My personal opinion is what killed the show.
And now just to be clear, we understand that Twilight Zone didn't always do stuff like this, but it was those unknowns, little twists that it's like, oh hey, that's an interesting take, like Probe 7 Over and Out,
or the
one where the guy lands on the planet and he's sending messages back and forth and he finds out that his planet was destroyed and he ends up meeting that alien woman and she says, he says, well, what do you call this? And she says Earth, and it turns out his name is Adam.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay, maybe that's an Adam and Eve type thing going on here.
It makes you think. And was the one where there was like a bunch of them in a room? And each one was from something different. One of them was like an astronaut.
Oh, yes. 5 characters in search of an exit. Yes. The soldier wakes up and they're in this metal container, and it turns out they're all dolls.
Yeah.
And the ringing that they're hearing is the guy ringing the bells for the Toys for Tots type.
Right. Yeah.
That is That is genius.
That is genius.
Yeah.
It
is.
It's stuff like that really just blows your mind. And at the end, the whole time you're like, you're rooting for them. You're in there. You're outside this television. You're rooting for them.
Please, I hope you get out. Are they okay? Are they really in hell? Are they dead?
That's what they were saying. We're in hell.
Yeah,
one of them even said, I think we're in hell, and they couldn't get out. And it turns out, it turns out they're in a box for I want to say because. I want to say
the Salvation Army.
Salvation Army. People were putting toys in, and that's why more of them kept appearing or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So it's just so. And you would
or how about that other real famous one, To Serve Man?
Oh God, To Serve Man is an epic, and that was the one I was gonna say was my second favorite.
Yeah,
To Serve Man is one of the best episodes of Twilight Zone ever.
I love the approach on that one too. It's not just a normal storytelling. It's a guy. It starts off with the guy talking to the camera. This is how I got here.
Yeah.
And then that whole, it's a cookbook.
It's a cookbook.
It's a cookbook. To serve, man. It's a cookbook.
Yeah. They want to serve us. And they
finally translated it.
Didn't they have like a bunch of people in line to get on a spaceship?
Yeah.
It was the basic premise is they thought that that these aliens were here to help us to serve us. Well, it turns out they were here to serve us for dinner.
Yeah,
it's a cookbook.
Nice little twist right there, and I think that's why Twilight Zone gets it better than Shyamalan. With Shyamalan, now some of his movies are really good. Like Sixth Sense was good.
Yeah.
Unbreakable, I actually thought was a really interesting take on the whole superhero supervillain thing.
So I haven't seen that one.
I think it is very understated. I think it is phenomenal. And it really plays on the whole, kind of like the Twilight Zone. It's why I think I liked it so much, because it was one of those instances where it was like it goes against your sense of what do you call it, free will versus fate.
Yeah, okay.
That you are who you were born to be, and you don't have a choice against it.
It pulls upon that fear.
Yeah, that fear that you are set in the way that's going to be, and you are screwed if you don't like it too bad.
All right, okay, that makes sense.
And you can't change, and that's
Yeah,
it.
you can't
And-
change it.
Look at The Sixth Sense. You know, spoiler alert, people. If you haven't seen it, you're stupid.
Who hasn't?
Yeah,
seen that?
well,
Yeah.
The Sixth Sense. The whole time you're following, oh shit, Bruce
Willis.
Willis's
yeah.
character around, thinking he's a cop. Basically looking
Not
into
a cop.
A psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist. Damn it,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
He's a psychiatrist trying to help this kid. In the long run, the kid's trying to help him because he's dead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that right there is the basic premise of any Twilight Zone. At the end,
and what I like about what was really cool is the way they pulled it off too, because afterwards you start thinking about the movie and all the times it makes sense. Why didn't he open the door? Why wasn't he contacting his wife?
Why
didn't he go? Yeah,
directly.
yeah, all those things, and it's like it reminded me of Twilight Zone, and so did Unbreakable.
What was that movie where they're all in a freaking in that town and they can't wear red and they can't cross the freeway or some shit?
Yeah, The Village.
You're talking about the
The
Village.
Village was the most
Yeah.
horrible movie ever created. That movie.
It had some.
It had some moments though.
It had
I
some
liked
potential,
it.
but
Yeah.
it just took a couple of wrong
For a
turns.
second, think
Yeah.
of the shittiest movie you've ever seen, ever, like the movie you'd hate to see again. Like you'd amputate
Lady
your
in the
left
Water?
you'd amputate your left testicle, did not see it again. Okay, well, this movie's worse than that. I hate that movie.
Waterworld.
Oh, yeah.
Waterworld,
Yeah,
exactly.
Waterworld.
Waterworld
Yeah.
is pretty bad. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a dude with gills.
Yeah, one of the other episodes I just remembered was, and I don't remember the name of it. I would have to find it. But the entire time you see this lady, and all of a sudden these little aliens are showing up around her, and she's chasing them around, and you find out that the aliens are actually the United States Air Force.
Oh
visiting
yeah.
the planet.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
it.
that-
They were
that-
it was a little flying saucer, and it was Cloris Leachman was a
Yes.
it was a young Cloris Leachman. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. A lot of stars at the time. A lot of stars that we watched grow up to be
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and especially from the movie.
Huge stars later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone launched a lot of careers.
Like I
It
said
really
earlier,
did.
Seth Green, was a kid in one of the shows. in one of the
Richard
movies.
Matheson.
Yeah, Richard. A lot of great names. You even had a few episodes had William Shatner. I think a few of them even had Nimoy in it.
Yeah, I mean, hell,
There.
Anne Francis and,
Burgess Meredith was in 2 or 3 of them.
Yes.
Yep.
And they were it was an amazing show. It had an amazing, if they brought it back and with the same not the actors, but the same kind of, the same actors. Maybe the only one that's still alive is freaking Kirk.
Shatner, yeah.
Shatner.
Yeah,
Go.
if you wanted to see any of the other actors, you'd probably need a shovel and a lantern.
Yeah.
Shatner.
That would be a Twilight Zone all of its own.
If Shatner replayed that Nightmare at 20,000 feet, he'd probably he'd break a hip and have a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
The Gremlin did P2 realistic. Oh, you'd hate to see him
Yeah,
dying like that. Oh, I'm dying. Oh God.
Now, what's really funny is when Rod Serling made this, he said 5 years after the first season, no one will remember who I am.
Yeah, he's
It is
wrong about that.
2015, and New Year's Eve, Sci-Fi will be playing back to back to back to back every episode of the Twilight Zone ever again.
Yeah.
They have been doing this since I was a child. I remember always seeing it on New Year's Eve or 4th of July, stuff like that. And it was every single Twilight Zone ever made.
We know where else you can see it, right?
Well,
Netflix.
Netflix.
You can watch it on Netflix.
Yeah.
And you guys are gonna hear me
I've been
whore
watching
Netflix.
back through it again.
I am gonna whore Netflix on this program. I'm telling you, I love Netflix.
They should give you money.
Yeah, they should, damn it.
And remember, guys, we can't give you any kind of discount code because we are not sponsored.
We're
We're
not
just,
sponsored.
yeah.
I'm just telling you what's good. Just like when we do our Nerd Tech review, what's good and what's not good, what we think works out for
Their
us.
opinions,
Works out.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I was talking to my wife, and she's like, I never really got into Twilight Zone. It always kind of freaked me out. She goes, but I remember this one where the guy was selling death, all this stuff, and kind of distracting for the little girl. I said, oh, that's like the second episode.
Yeah.
One for the Angels.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's like literally the second episode. I think it was the first official because Where Is Everybody? Also, which is based off of which is the pilot. And it's based off of The Last Man on Earth. Now, hilariously, in that episode, he actually walks by that book, The Last Man on Earth, which is what it's. Robert Stevens is the main actor in that one, or is the director for that one. And he walks by an entire rack of that book.
Yep.
And I just love at the end where you find out the entire thing was a hallucination, and it was about because remember this is 1959. Man is still dreaming about going into outer space. Nobody had really gone to the moon
it's still
yet.
sci-fi.
Yeah, it's science fiction at this point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't go to the moon for another 10 years minimum.
Yep.
And it was about how long it would take with the current technology and that he snapped after, so many weeks of being in there by himself. And it was really cool. I remember watching just going, oh, that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm. It was, the show goes off a lot of our fears, and it's beautiful for that reason. It's funny. I mentioned, I'm going off topic for a second, but I mentioned the pilot episode. It's a lot of the reasons these pilot episodes aren't really known is because the show gets popular much later on. That's true. Like a good example would be I said Star Trek earlier. I'll say Star Trek again.
Trek.
But no one knows who Captain Pike is. Unless you're a really big fan, right? Sophisto?
Unless you're a Trekkie,
Unless you're a Trekkie.
Yeah. Apparently, the actor was good enough to die for our sins, but not good enough to sleep with green women.
Yep, Jeffrey Hunter.
Yep,
that's his name.
Yep, and he was green women though. I think they got Shatner.
Kirk took him. He took the bullet on that one.
Yeah, he took the bullet.
Yeah, every decent looking woman, gal on any of those shows, Kirk. Took the bullet off.
Yeah, and every so often, like Spock would, go through his Vulcan hormone moment. I need to breathe.
Off topic is Star Trek. The first interracial kiss was between Uhuru and Kurtz.
That's right.
Yeah. I remember that caused a big stink.
And this wasn't a
green woman.
This was a black woman.
Yeah,
it did cause a big stink. How dare he do that? Whatever.
Yeah, and some of the southern states back in the day, people did get upset about
that. But it's just something that started a bunch of other stuff, which is cool. But yeah, that's right back to topic, and that's pretty much what the Twilight Zone did. It started us thinking. It started the viewer thinking and going, hey, we could write about something like this, and it didn't. Much later on, you get shows like Shamalama Ding Dong, and from him, and all the good ones at least. Like I said, the other ones don't exist. In fact, right now he doesn't exist. He disappeared. He went to the Bermuda Triangle because he sucks. God, M. Night Shyamalan, whatever his name is. Fuck. I keep fucking his name up because I really can't pronounce it, guys.
Yeah, it's hard to pronounce.
M. Night Shyamalan. Whatever. Yeah, I can't pronounce it, so I just keep fucking his name up. But
Shalong-along.
Shalamanon. Shyamalan. Okay.
Yeah, Shyamalan.
Whatever.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Whatever.
I think you're right.
Yeah, he's a douche.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan douche.
Yeah.
So.
He's okay. He's just had a hit and miss type of problem.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the other things I really liked about the Twilight Zone was the more mysterious ones, like the one where the plane lands and there's no passengers on it.
Oh, that's a good one.
And everyone starts seeing different tail numbers and different interiors. Everyone's trying to figure out, what's going on with this plane, what happened to it, and you see the guy out on the runway and he goes running back in, to tell him because everybody around him disappears, and you find out that he's just been obsessing over this for like 10 or 15 years, and he can't let it go. So, or how about the one, oh God, what was it? It was called The Mystery of Flight.
I think I know which one.
I don't think it was The Last Flight. I don't think that was it. The Odyssey of Flight 33, I think it was called. The one where the plane was going back and forth in time. That one had a real famous actor on it as well.
Well, didn't they use that in the movie? Didn't they have that one in the movie? No.
I don't think so.
No, they did.
Yeah, it's a retelling of the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah. Okay.
They were trying to land the plane at JFK, which back then it was called Idlewild.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept trying to call in, you know, and say, hey, this is why John Anderson.
Ah.
Yeah, John Anderson was Captain Farver in that one. And yes, I did have to look that up.
Yeah.
But again, another real famous actor for those of old enough to remember. You know, people know exactly who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that one was really cool. They used stock footage from, I want to say it was an old dinosaur movie. And they used
it was the old like stop motion stuff.
Yeah, it was a T-Rex versus a Stegosaurus, and I know the older film buffs will know the film that I'm talking about. But that one was really cool. Or how about the one that the Simpsons? Well, the Simpsons have parodied a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But the one where they found that little tiny civilization on a planet, and he started and it was the two astronauts, and one of them started acting out like crushing them, saying, you know, we'll make them obey, we'll make them worship us like gods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really cool. But yeah, I love the ones where that make you think, that kind of make you wonder, you know, what's really going on.
Well, it sets you on a motion of events that make you think you're going one direction and then jerks you to the left, and no, this is what's really happening, you know? Like, you know, it's a cookbook, or this is a box they're living in. You know, that's the kind of stuff that the show would do, that would just really get your attention, and that's what makes it so fun to watch now. Now, this is the next topic. What is the difference between that show? What makes that show so amazing as opposed to shows nowadays, which, you know, are supposed to be kind of thrilling, you know, or whatever? What's the difference? What makes it so what's the change from then to now, because that show's so old, it's still freaking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, literally, to this day, I will hear teenagers go do-do-do-do-do-do-do when something weird happens. And it's like, wow, that was a show in 1959 that came out, and people are referencing it because it's still that popular. Well, it's got that staying power.
The show is even almost past our time, Sunrie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the only reason we know is because it got big and it did a lot of reruns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, just like I Love Lucy and all that. But yeah, it's amazing. It's a good show. And like you said, yeah, these kids are referencing it. Teenagers and people going, nee, 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 nee. Of course, because, you know, some of them don't even know what that really means. They just know
because their parents were doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they've seen it on movie or TV show or something like that. But what makes you think what's the difference between then and now? What makes that show stand out more even now than some of the other shows, like the newer shows?
You know, I've got to say, one, it's the intelligence of the writing. The show does not talk down to you. When the reveal happens and you figure it out, the characters understand when you do. It's not like how do you not know what's going on, you idiot? Everybody else watching the show knows what's going on. The characters don't know what's going on until you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, it plays off of those basic human emotions and fears. The fear of being alone, the fear of being isolated, the fear of being different. And of course, you know, with that, we can't forget that one where, you know, Eye of the Beholder, where she is beautiful, but everybody else is ugly.
That's another good one.
Yeah, that's another good one.
Yeah, so she is ugly because everybody else is beautiful because they all look the same and she doesn't.
Yeah.
It's that, you know, wanting to fit in but never being able to.
The standing out kind of feeling.
And you don't want to stand out, but you're forced to.
Yeah.
So you're highlighted. You're in the spotlight. Everyone's looking at you. It's not like people like me who, you know, in the middle of a crowd will start, you know, jumping up and down and waving and talking to everybody. You know, where you want to be the same. You don't want to. You just want to be normal. You can't be normal.
What about...
And then it fucks with your understanding of normal.
Yeah.
Wow, everyone's so ugly. She's gorgeous. No, she's not. She is the ugly one, and that makes you think.
What makes her ugly? What is
beauty?
What is
and
beauty?
That's, I mean, it's the name of the episode, Eye of the Beholder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
and they were gonna send her to another planet where everyone looked like her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So, Sofisto, what do you think makes the show stand out now, as opposed, you know, much later on, as opposed to some of the newer shows?
It's like Sunrie said, it's the writing and the surprise that everybody gets out of it, just like he said, you know, and the pretty good acting.
Mm-hmm.
And they had you know, very good actors in those. Jack Klugman.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
anybody, like you guys were saying earlier, anybody that you can think of from that era, pretty much in some episode of the Twilight Zone.
Okay.
And sometimes multiple. Like Shatner was
Yeah.
in what, 3, maybe 4? I know
Shatner was in a few.
Yeah,
He was in that one where they're in the
diner.
The diner, which is another good
Yeah.
one, you know. Now my take on it is this: what makes it so interesting nowadays, and this is just my personal take. A lot of people may disagree with me on this. Back then, they didn't have to put sex in everything to make it interesting. They couldn't.
That's true.
They couldn't.
Or violence.
Or violence. Well, there was a violence, but it was not as much, and it was not gory as
it
like
was.
this
It
today.
wasn't the main theme.
The thing is today, the problem with today as opposed to back then is today everything has to be sexual for it to be popping in people's heads, for people to watch it on television. I'm also guilty of that because I'm, you know, a child of the time. But, you know, I also grew up with, you know, stuff like the Twilight Zone, so that I also have a love for that. But, you know, I think that back then back when they were making the Twilight Zone, you know, the worst you can get was a kiss from somebody, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's cleavage and a big ass and
Yeah.
dick sucking lips and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, like 50 million shades of gray.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing. Somewhere down the line, as opposed to then to now, that people realize sex sells, and you know we're just gonna advertise the shit out of it, and it's on televisions, it's on movies, it's in radio. It's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without some sexual reference. It's almost over the top, you know, borderline over the top, because that's the society we live in today. And I'm getting I'm actually going borderline political with this, and I'll stop before I go any further. But that's
Well, there was a lot of politics in Twilight Zone, and I don't think a lot of it was any more left or right than any of the other episodes. It was just it was
neutral.
Be careful.
It was neutral, but it was like anything could go wrong, which is beautiful, which is the beauty of that show. But that's what I think is wrong is the difference between it and today. There's a much more like subtle nuance, but at the same time it's in your face, you know.
Oh, yeah, that walnut's been cracked already, so you can't hardly go back.
You got a point too, but I mean, if you think about it, you could. I mean, who's to say you can't make a Nightmare at 30,000, 20,000 feet too? You know, who's to say they can't rewrite it? And if it's not written right, or if it's written just right, it could be just as good as the first one.
It could be.
Yeah, but the problem here's the problem with that. Look at the new RoboCop. Look at new Total Recall.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about the remakes.
It's because people today who saw that stuff goes, oh, I can do that and I can make it better.
Well, that's the problem.
No, you don't have the skill. You don't have the understanding. You don't know what made the original so fun.
Yeah.
You don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's
why it was good to begin with.
That's the issue. If they just changed it up, you know, like you said, RoboCop. RoboCop was a dick in the face kind of movie. It was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been using this term a lot lately because I've been playing Star Wars. It was Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas does not know why the original Star Wars was as good, which is why he fired that director and decided, people wanted to see the special effects and everything else, when the original director said, no, it's the characters and the storytelling and the relatability. Yep. And he says, no, that's not it. You're fired.
Well, okay, let's talk about, you want to talk about, you say that, it's funny that you say that, because look at in the 90s, how many times he released the original trilogy with different changes, with subtle changes.
Just, you know, more graphics, new this, new that. It's like, Lucas, that is not why we liked that movie to begin with.
You know, and then you got that awesome, and this is, you're gonna hear me talk about this if we ever do a Star Wars episode, but the worst thing they put in that movie, and this is a few years recent, let's say like 5-10 years recent, was that part of the scene where, you know, Vader picks up the Emperor Palpatine and throws him down, and it's quiet. He's sitting there and he's thinking, and you could tell he's like contemplating, and you don't have to see a facial expression. You know that he's fucking torn. Okay. Yep. What they added was when he picks up Palpatine, you're no. Yeah. You don't need that. You don't need that. Okay.
It actually spoke more that he was so conflicted even while he was doing it that he didn't see anything, that he just picked him up and threw him off.
And this is a pet peeve of mine too. And this is, you guys, nerds everywhere. You know, you're probably gonna hate me for saying this. I love you guys. You're probably all of you listening and such.
They're your brethren.
My brethren.
That's right.
But But please stop arguing about who shot first. You know, what matters is what's in the original script. Okay, you want to say, oh, Han shot first. Oh, Guido shot. It doesn't matter. It's a fucking movie in the long run. yeah, I'm probably gonna get some cut off cat heads in my bed for this. But guys, it's a movie. Let it be. A little sidetrack rant on my part, but there's a lot of beauty in subtle nuance and some not so subtle in Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And because of that, we love it. What about I'm kind of losing my brain here. What else can we talk about when it comes to the show?
Well, there's the notions of when it would make you wonder what was actually going on, whether the like there was one where the guy takes all the mannequins home because the wax museum was going to close, and people start showing up dead in his basement that he would have over. It's really left you. It's called the New Exhibit. I remember now. It's called the New Exhibit, and basically what happens is like people will come over and they want to shut off the air conditioning, or his wife wants to, is getting all upset because he's keeping these things and it's costing them a fortune.
Yeah.
And she ends up dead. And it kind of suggests that the wax figures are coming alive. But then at the end, it might actually have been him because now he's in display as a serial killer.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's another cool thing about the show. Again, I keep saying this, but it keeps you thinking. It keeps you guessing. You don't know what some of these episodes. You don't know what the real truth is. It's all in the eye of the beholder.
Or how about that one where the astronauts land on the planet and they're trying to radio home and they can't, and they get off and everybody's like frozen in time, and it turns out that it's a graveyard. Basically the groundskeeper, who's this robot, tells them, I can send you home. Sure. Is that what you want? And they're like, well, yeah, that's what. And he's like, okay, well, you're all dead. And he's like, well, we can't be dead. And his logic says, well, no, this is a great place for dead people. So if you're here, you must be dead.
Yes.
And then it shows them at the end radioing home with their voices, and the rockets thrusters are going off. And then it shows him like dusting off the exhibit. That begs the question, were they dead? Did the robot kill them?
Yeah.
So it's like it leaves it up to you. Did it happen or didn't it happen? Were they really confused? Was that just their spirits and he was talking to their ghosts? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A movie that came out a little later that I think had a lot of influence from the Twilight Zone?
What's that?
The Frighteners.
Yeah, there did seem to be quite a bit of reference in that.
Yeah, there was quite a bit. It's funny.
Oh, the Michael J. Fox thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of references to the Twilight Zone from the Frighteners, and the show that movie in particular was good. But yeah, the Twilight Zone. If you guys haven't seen it, if you're too young to remember or know what the Twilight Zone is, I suggest you guys go watch it. It's an amazing series.
I think all 5 seasons are on Netflix.
Yes.
I think they are.
The series is great. It just because it's in black and white, don't down it. It's black and white, so what?
Yeah, and honestly, like I said, you laugh at the amount of the prices it talks about. Like, it wasn't a stop in Willoughby. I forget what the episode's called, but the guy ends up breaking down. He goes to the mechanic and says, "Oh yeah, I'm from a town just up the road." And he goes back, and it turns out that he's back in time, like actually watching his youth. And he keeps fucking things up for himself. And he asks the guy, for a soda, for an ice cream sundae or something like that. And the guy tells him, "Oh yeah, it'll be a nickel." It's like, yeah, that's funny, but okay. So just imagine that the guy said, $5 or something like that for this thing. And yeah, I mean, it's really good. It's valid even for today. It's the messages and the writing that you should be paying attention to. The acting is actually really good. There are definitely some things that have aged.
Oh yeah.
Like there's one episode, and again, I forget what the name is off the top of my head, but the guy and the woman wake up and they're in a bedroom that they don't recognize, and they think that, they got drunk at the Christmas party and they crashed, and he keeps blaming her. "Oh, you're a woman, you can't drive, this is all your fault."
Is this the one where they turn out to be like toys in a dollhouse or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It turns out that the little alien girl who looks human's father went to Earth, got her those them as pets. But again, it plays on that. And you think it's like it plays on that isolation fear and everything else, and then that
fear of the unknown.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown, and so I mean, there's some things like that still are it's kind of like, wow, that's a little sexist.
Yeah.
But
well,
again, at the time,
it was a different time, a different place.
Yeah.
Another thing I will say is that in a world as we live and breathe nowadays in the world of CGI.
Yeah.
The graphics for the time were pretty well thought out.
Yeah, and a lot of times they used practical effects. Like they actually got a lion in the jungle.
Yeah.
The episode The Jungle. They used real drums when the characters were on scene. They used, they used giant sets to make people look small because I don't think at the time monochromatic screening, which is known as green and blue screening, was a huge thing at the time.
Well, blue screen was actually it was used, but it wasn't used like we know it today.
Yeah, they didn't have the budget on the show.
Yeah.
To do it. And so what they would do is they would use forced perspective where they would have actors stand out in the distance,
yes,
and they'd have someone stand closer to the camera to make them look giant and stuff like that. And it's all very, very practical. It still looks good. I mean, you can tell some of the graphics, but come on.
Well, their version
look at a lot of the movies today. You go, that's fucking graphics.
Their version of blue screen was a projector going on a white screen in the background, portraying a background going by, and they did that a lot for like car scenes and or like chases and stuff like that for like cowboys and Indians. And correct me, am I wrong, Sofisto? I think that's right. That's about right for what they did for special effects.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's interesting. Even though you like look at it and you're like, oh, they're not going that fast, and it didn't look like the guy just turned, in the car. But you just gotta ignore that stuff and pay attention to the story, because the story is what matters.
Yeah, and you will find out where I would say 90% of the references when people are trying to do anything eerie or they're doing something that's like, why I don't get it, like on Family Guy, The Simpsons, everything like that. You will see the reference where they got the idea for certain episodes or skits, because it is the Twilight Zone.
Oh yeah, the Twilight Zone is extremely well known. It's just you can't. It's pop. I want to say pop culture. I think, is that the right term?
Yeah, it's definitely popular culture. I mean, even like we were saying, even till today.
Yeah.
Amazing show, amazing writing.
Affirmative.
Affirmative.
Just timeless.
Just timeless. So I think we will end the show at that. Sophisto, do you have any more words you'd like to say before we go?
Nah, I think it's all covered.
Okay, what about you, Sunrie?
Go watch it.
Go watch it.
Watch them all.
Watch all of them.
Gotta watch them all.
You will not be disappointed.
So
and you'll see stuff that you forgot about and be reminded of how good the show is.
Yes. And once again, you can see it on Netflix. I believe they have all the seasons.
Yeah, I think they have all 5.
All 5 seasons. You can go check it out, and definitely give it, whatever, how many stars it's got. Give it like a whatever, as much if you like it. Or
give it. I would say just give it max.
Yeah, just give it max. Good. It's that good. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Some people are out there have a different taste of a different culture, so or different.
Just real quick too. One of the other reasons I think it's so good is Rod Serling, not only the writer of a lot of the episodes, but the host. The guy had class. And he's got one of those voices where you go, I could listen to that.
Yeah, the opening alone is iconic.
Yeah.
The opening alone, which we spoofed at the beginning of the show. Yeah. The opening alone is iconic, and the music that it's everything. Yeah. All right, guys, that's the end of episode 10. I hope you enjoyed it. This is definitely our first boss episode. You can expect the mini boss episode on episode 15. I don't think we're sure what we're going to do just yet, but we'll come up with something.
Not sure. Might do Star Trek, might do Star Wars.
Yeah, we might do something like that. It's going to be interesting, which is going to be cool because I'm actually, Samantha, right? Sophisto?
Yeah.
I'm going to she's never seen Star Wars at all.
What?
Never. No.
I'm
introducing her to the first 3 and then maybe like the next 3 after that. But I'm still trying to figure out if I want to do that or not because the last 3 were horrible. But with the exception of watching Anakin burn, that made me happy.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Christian Aidenson, or whatever your name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That has been episode 10, the first boss episode.
Yeah.
Definitely, like we were saying, definitely go out, check it out. Good to have Sophisto here. Hopefully we have him on a future episode as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Go watch it.